Boston steals game one on their home floor. That's not what you typically like to. That's not what you typically say about the home team in that situation, right? But they steal their own game one, and I didn't even get into the first half. Obi Toppin had a great first quarter. I think he had like 11 points. Let's see right here. Yeah, he had 11 points, shot 5 of 6 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. And then the second quarter, we saw Miles Turner have a perfect quarter. He went 5 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3 for 12 points. And still, with those two guys doing what they were doing, the game was tied at 64. And no one had really broken out and gotten loose for Boston. It felt as if they were still coming back from a vacation. I'm gonna be honest with you, that's what it felt like. And when they wanted to turn it on and stop an Indiana Pacers run, they were able to do that with their defense by running these sets and their plays that they just know what to do in certain situations. Boston did a great job of matchup hunting last night, especially down the stretch. And you know, more on the execution part. I think that was the difference between the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers in the end. It just the turnovers are one thing for the Pacers, right? Halliburton hasn't had to face someone like Drew Holiday up until this point of the playoffs. I mean, there was Patrick Beverly and Lillard, but it wasn't the same type of series, right? Drew Holiday is not only a defender, but the last couple games he's shown his offensive side as well. So he's being aggressive, ultra aggressive. And then when you look at the turnover to Siakam, not fouling Jaylen Brown in the corner. I mean, I get it, right? I get it.
Get free.
He's wide open, right? You got to just wrap him up. And I get that it's a split-second decision. I don't know what conversation you guys are having in the huddle, but
The corner.
you don't even contest it. You just wrap up both of his arms and don't even let him shoot. And I get that it's a split-second thing. I get that it's really, really hard to do. However, I think it's a part of your job as a coach to really remind these guys and to drill that in.
Brown fakes, fires up the three.
There was a situation in the overtime. I don't remember if it was Holiday and White or if it was Brown and White, but they were trapping Indiana. You know, they were pressing them, and they had got caught in between, right? And as soon as White switched onto the guy that was ahead, it wasn't even a thought. He just wrapped him up and fouled him right away. The inbound plays that right, this inbound play right here. This inbound play.
On the back.
He's already, like, this is a communication thing, right? Because he's already face guarding White. Halliburton doesn't need to cover this. You should be covering this side because he's making sure that Drew Holiday don't get over the top. The Celtics realize that.
Backcourt.
Drew Holiday gets this ball. He's looking for either Tatum to come around this way or for White to come this way. Tatum does a great job of recognizing that White already beat Nembhard and just stays put instead of also moving to the side, because what happens here is he's already going towards him. All Tatum would have done is made this area more crowded. So him staying here, split-second decisions are so key.
Holiday back to White, and he lays it.
And they just executed that perfectly. At no point, I mean, I obviously picked the Boston Celtics to win game 1. I started to get a little bit nervous, but at no point did they look nervous. I think they looked more disappointed in themselves. Jaylen Brown talked about how they need to be better. That's what he kept saying, that they need to be better. They have to be better for game 2. They didn't look surprised that they won. They weren't super frustrated when they were making mistakes and also getting really bad turnovers. Tatum had a really bad one that he threw away at half court, which then led to a Derek White foul. Halliburton got 3 free throws at the end of the 4th, and they still came back from that. They showed a lot of poise, and they showed an emphasis on execution, not so much the emotions of the game, because there is so much emotions in the game. They simply executed, and that, to me, that shows, the execution part shows that they're a championship caliber team. However, throughout these playoffs, I don't know how many games they've played a good 48 minutes of basketball. They've been good enough to blow out a Miami Heat with no Jimmy Butler and a Cleveland Cavaliers that's, let's be honest, isn't very good. Mitchell missed the last 2-3 games, blowing those two teams out by 20 points a game, 19 plus points a game. They're that good that I don't even think they've played that many great 48 minutes, a full game of basketball. They can turn it on and off against these lesser teams. But what happens when they run up against a Luka Doncic and a Kyrie Irving or Anthony Edwards? And I'm not trying to look too far ahead, right? Because obviously Boston has to clean things up. However, they had a bad game last night, and they were somehow able to take that win. Now, we've seen in the last 2 series that they're going to have one dud. They're going to have one game where they basically don't show up. And they almost gifted this to Indiana. So what I thought was going to be a 4-1 was almost guaranteed to be a 4-2. It was almost guaranteed last night to be a 6-game series. I think it was really tough that Indiana lost that last night. You had solid contribution out of Obi Toppin, and your 3 guys were all able to get going. You had a team that hadn't played since last Wednesday, and you guys, I said it before, even though you've played, 3 games in the last 5 nights, 2 of those games were very, very easy. Game 6 and Game 7 against the Knicks were both blowouts. You weren't super drained. Your guys were able to rest a little bit. It wasn't an emotionally draining process. So they came into this game ready to play. How will they respond? It's been like, I think it's been the game 2s that the Celtics have just been awful in. Let's see. Let's see. Where's the bracket, bro? There you go. Celtics 4-1. It was game 2 against Cleveland. And it was also game 2 against Miami. So is this the Indiana Pacers' chance to take a game? They know they should have won last night. So going into game 2, are they going to be down on themselves, or are they going to be confident looking to steal game 2 and go back into Indiana 1-1 where they've played great? Or are the Boston Celtics looking at themselves like, fuck, man, we barely won this game. We need to clean a lot of things up. And if we do, or when we do, this Indiana Pacers team really can't mess with us. And that, to me, that's how it looks and feels. Boston, like I said, did a great job of matchup hunting because they have different matchups that they can exploit. TJ McConnell and Halliburton, Drew Holiday can take either one of them into the post. Tatum was taking everyone into the post except for Pascal Siakam. Jaylen Brown, the same thing. It's a tough matchup. And then on defense, we saw when Boston wanted to turn up their defense, as great as an offensive team this Pacers team has been, they can match up with them because, like I said, they have size. They have size 1 through 5. They have length. And so I think it was really big that Indiana dropped game 1 because they really had an opportunity, right? I think, I have Boston winning this series 4-1. I think it's only going to go 5 games. But when they look at the end of the series, I think they're really going to kick themselves over game 1. Game 1 is going to be one of those like, fuck, we could have. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's going to be one of those games. And hey, man, those were, like I said, 3 really bad turnovers for the Pacers. I don't expect that to happen consistently. However, on defense, I like those matchups for Boston. I'm not saying they're going to dominate it on defense, but Drew Holiday on Halliburton. I don't know if they're going to start putting Tatum on Siakam because Siakam was still doing a solid job. Like he's still able to score. His mid-range has been so great from the free throw line extended. He's been so good. So I would look for that matchup. I want to say Indiana wins game 2 because, like I said, that's been the trend, right? But with the way game 1 played out, I think Boston is going to come back upset. And I think they're going to look to win game 2, trying to really put this series away and kind of snuff the fire out that Indiana has had. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, man. That was a hell of a game, though. Got treated to the first game of the conference finals was an overtime finish, back and forth. Like I said, it was tied at the half. The third quarter was back and forth, and then the fourth quarter was just great. I know we talked a lot about Tatum, but before we move forward, I just want to... Jaylen Brown. I've been saying it. He might be the best second option in the playoffs right now. It was him and Jamal Murray for me in terms of just how great they've played, how consistent they've been. And both of them also hit big shots and capable of hitting big shots. And Jaylen Brown showed it last night with the big 3, stealing the ball from Siakam. Again, another 28-point night. you look up and it's 28. And it's one of those things where you kind of wonder, are you just stopping yourself at 28? Are you capable of doing more? And you're just capping yourself? Is the coach telling you not to, this is the range I want you to score in? Because it seems like he gets there every night. And they have a great team, but it seems like no matter who's going off, he's gonna be there with 26 to 28 points, no matter what. He's been so consistent. He's been massive. I gotta give some love to Jaylen Brown. Like I said, Drew Holiday was phenomenal. He has a tough matchup with Halliburton. Tatum has been showing the scoring, and a lot of it just had to do with making some shots. He's been really, really aggressive since the middle of the Cleveland series, attacking the basket. His free throws have shown that. He's continued with the double-doubles and the rebounding. I just think Boston has too much firepower. They didn't have a great night and still pulled off the victory last night. So at the moment, I think I got Boston in game 2, but we'll see what that looks like.